Well, guys, it is time for my favorite section of the show. This is Fun with Fountain Pens. Let me launch that segment.
Here's a house. Here's a door. Windows 1, 2, 3, 4. Ready to knock? Turn the lock.
10 school.
Okay, guys, sorry, I forgot to turn the lights on again. Hold on, so I'll get rid of my background to make it a little bit easier for you to see. Sorry, need the other one as well. All right, that should be better. Okay, guys, the pen that I have for you today is the Jinhao 86, and the ink that I have for you is Montblanc Swan Illusion. Oh, I need to center that so that you can see it. Okay, we'll come to the ink in a moment. Starting with the pen. This is a Jinhao 86. And what is that red thing right in the middle of the screen there? Can anyone see a red dot right in the middle of the screen there? At the top of the pen? That's strange. What is that? I don't know what that is. Okay, all right. Well, no big deal. Just going to have to put up with it. Okay, so this is a copy of a very, very famous pen, the Parker 51. Now, this Parker 51 is really special. It's because when I first started doing SimonTV, this dude Free Range, it's a chap who owns the Free Range Gallery out in St Heliers, took me out to lunch one day and said, look, I love what you're doing with SimonTV. I know you love pens. I've never seen you do a Parker. Have this Parker pen, and it is fantastic. This was made in Great Britain in about 1950, and it is absolutely fantastic. Hold on, I need to move so that you can see this a bit better. This is a real Parker. You note that it's got a snap-on cap. It's got this hooded nib, and the other interesting thing about it is that it's got a pressure bar filling system, okay? So in pens like this, to fill them up, what you do is you dip them into the ink bottle, and you see this pressure bar here. If I move that a little bit, you should be able to see the pressure bar. There's a little rubber sack inside this pen, and when you push the pressure bar, it compresses the sack, okay, so that when you release, it sucks ink up into it. I actually repair these. Like, pens have a bunch of different kind of pressure bar mechanisms. Sometimes it's a lever, sometimes it's like this. What really shocked me was getting a pen from Free Range, which was 60 or 70 years old, and the rubber had not spoiled. Like, normally what I have to do is the rubber perishes, and I normally have to open up a pen and scrape it up and replace it. And there's, you have to use special powder and shellac, this kind of this adhesive that comes from bugs in India to repair the pen. There's a whole process to it. But on this crazy good Parker pen, Parker 51, the rubber is still good. And this pen was in full working operation 60 plus years after it was made. It is fantastic, and I am absolutely, totally pleased to have this pen in my collection. Now, this Chinese copy of it is called the Jinhao 86. You can see how it has that same sort of like arrow clip, right? Very, very, very similar in many, many regards, but it is quite different. Firstly, it doesn't have a snap-on cap. Snap-on caps are really good if you're for work. Like if you're in meetings and you're taking notes, you know what it's like. You're in a meeting and it's like you just uncap your pen so that you can write one sentence. Having a snap-on cap is really convenient for that. This one has a screw-on cap. Nothing wrong with screw-on caps, and this one doesn't take too many screws to undo, but it is a little. It's not the same as the Parker 51. You'll see it's got that same hooded nib. Unlike the 14 karat gold in the Parker, this one is a steel nib. As I've said on previous shows, there is not too much of a difference these days in nib materials. You do get steel nibbed pens, which do perform extremely well. The other thing that is different is that unlike the Parker, this has a very, very common cartridge converter. Nothing wrong with cartridge converters, but it is fair to say it is my least favorite filling system. Okay, how does it write? Not too bad. I could only get this in a fine, and I'm someone who likes to write with lay down a fair amount of ink. It really does not suit my handwriting to be using a nib like this. The other thing with it is it's just, I'm not sure if it's because it's a fine, I'm not used to using them, but it does feel a little bit rough to me. It's just not quite as smooth as I would expect. Okay, maybe it's the case that I need to spend a little bit of time with this nib. What you can do is you can get some very, very fine sandpaper when you've got a new nib that isn't writing very well, and you can just kind of wet it a little bit and just, you know, rub the nib around a little bit until it sort of starts to get smooth. For a little bit more serious, sometimes the two tines of a nib need to be just a little bit more manipulated, but that is more serious surgery. On balance, I am not really enjoying writing with this. The other thing I note about this pen is that the plastic does not feel all that good. It doesn't actually feel very, very sturdy. Now, sometimes what you have to worry about with pens that come from China is if they use a very, very thin plastic like this pen, around where there are seals and screws, you have to be a bit careful that they don't split. This pen hasn't split. I only just got it, but I have a feeling that I would expect with this pen that eventually it's going to split right here. All right, so on balance, it's an okay pen. Oh, the other difference is, like if you look at the finial of the real Parker, you see it's got like a semi-precious stone embedded in it, and it's the same shape at the top of this pen, but it is metal. So on balance, as an homage to a Parker goes, this pen is not one that I recommend. I'm going to not recommend it to anyone, and it's just going to go into my pen case. I doubt very much that I'll ever use it, firstly because it's a fine nib, and secondly because I don't think it will last very long, and it is not fun to write with. Other people who do like a fine pen might take a different view. For me, this is not the pen. All right, moving on to the ink. This is the Montblanc Swan Illusion, and because I'm using a fine pen, I better give you a tap test so you can see the color of this ink. This was a limited edition a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, from Montblanc. I hope you can see that okay, and I might just need to move it because I don't know what that red thing is. Okay, it is supposed to emulate, it's a grey ink, but it's supposed to emulate the colour of a swan's plumage, and it really, really does. It's a grey shading to brown. Now, many Montblanc inks don't shade an awful lot, where it's very obvious that there are two colours, but this one very much does. You can see it's a sort of orangey brown, and tending to outright grey, and it shades very, very well between the two colours. It is absolutely gorgeous because even though it's shading, they're quite light, subtle colours, so it is a very, very attractive ink. It would very much suit the handwriting of a female, I think, because it is just sort of light and lovely. Someone with very, very bouncy handwriting would do very well out of this ink. Okay, it was limited edition. I don't think you can buy it anymore. Certainly Montblanc in New Zealand doesn't have any bottles left. Oh, the other thing is this one is made in Austria, you'll see, and they're calling it Stilo Plume Encre Taupe, so it's taupe, okay, the colour of taupe. It really, in actuality, it's a grey shading to orangey brown. Okay, so that was fun with fountain pens. We have the Jinhao 86 and Montblanc Swan Illusion ink. However, there is this episode of Fun with Fountain Pens is a little bit different, and the reason for that is that I actually got a video request from a viewer that I'm going to play for you now. Hold on, you guys. Can I play that? Here we go.
Mr. Anderson, here I am in my weekend office, and I have a question for you. Fun with fountain pens. Fountain pens can be fun. I'm currently in my weekend office, spraying a Pinot Noir vineyard at Martinborough, we would have walked by the way, and I have a bit of paperwork in my cab, and I would like to know if this would make, fountain pen would make my weekend office job more fun.
More fun. All right, I'm certainly happy to help with that, particularly because I like your office. As offices go, it looks like a pretty good one. Do continue.
office is I have my computer, which controls a double row sprayer, one for each nozzle, and the top. I
Got it. Double row sprayer.
have my TV screen, which keeps an eye on things at the back, the fuel gauge and the pressure gauge. Do not watch Formula 1 on there because I did get excited once and tried to take out a couple of rows, and you'll see lots of rays coming through. So the grapes are starting to get ready, the birds are starting to take notice. This is my final spray. The reason I have paperwork is I do you're not allowed to touch the clutch when you're driving a tractor because you'll run through it very quickly. So you take a wide berth around the headline. I started row 3, row 1, row 4, row 2, and up to row 6. However, because it's
Okay, so row 1, 3, 4, 6, okay? All right, not quite sure of the relevance of that, but I'm sure you'll get to it.
double rows, I started 5, 6, 1, 2, 7, 8, 3, 4, then go to 30.
Are we choosing a pen here or solving the Enigma code?
With 100 rows, it can get a little bit, shall we say, forgetful. I'm just coming up to the end of the row, and you'll see me form the procedure. There's the rows I've done already. There's the rows I'll continue to do. I turn the sprayer off. I look for my next rows to go down, which is, if your maths is done correctly, you'll see I'm going down row 33, 44. Turn the sprayer back on. Now, have you doing a bit of research into pens? Obviously, what I view the top of the pinnacle, the pen that comes from its own shop, the Montblanc. I'm really drawn to the cigar shape, the way it's being product placed in various presidential decrees, Angela Merkel type feel of the pen. However, I think you can rule that one out because I just don't have the elbow space.
Elbow space is an issue. Okay, got it.
Next down the list would probably be the Sailor, and drawn to the look and feel. However, for the money, would I then be just the poor man's Montblanc? So I think it's safely leave that one out. I
Harsh but true. There is a lot. Sailor do make some great pens.
am drawn to the review from the last week, the Leaky Emperor. I did like the fact that it had a big chamber, so I won't have to stop the tractor and refill during spray rounds for my paperwork. However, I think we can safely rule that one out because not so much the 40,000 price tag, but I don't have 8 months to wait to wait again. I've got to get the next on next week. I am drawn also to the Twisby. I do like the UKP to being able to see through and see how much ink's left there, and I do like the rubber gasket seal on the end. I think that protects spillages. However, I understand that there's not a clear stopping mechanism for the office, so I might be one of these guys that ties it in perhaps a little bit too high and cause a crack. Lammy, probably go through some rule the Twisby. Lammy, look, it's a vineyard. It's not a sheep vineyard, and there's rules around having lammies and sheep in the vineyard. So, I think we'll put that one to one side and look at when I can if we have sheep and introduce them. So, look, I'll leave it to you. Done a bit of thinking. If you can be my pen consultant, suggest which fountain pen I could use for my paperwork to make, the fun job of a Martinborough vineyard, Pinot Noir, even more fun for you. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your inquiry, Matt. And yes, I'm more than happy to be your pen consultant. It is precisely where I wanted to be at this stage in my career. All right. Coming to a pen. Now, guys, you will know that I have strongly recommended this pen. It is a copy of the Montblanc 149. It's got that lovely, lovely cigar shape from Jinhao. This is the X159. It is very similar, although a lot lighter. It's an homage to the 149, and I really, really like it. Up until last week, and I started reviewing the 9019 Dardau that I'm now recommending over this pen because it's fatter. This was the pen that I was saying people should buy for $10 if you like a big cigar-shaped pen. And point of fact, Excalibur in the chat actually bought one of those and he loves this pen. What I haven't been telling people, or at least I haven't been making extremely obvious, is that this is the second version. It is made in acrylic. This is after this Jinhao's second attempt to make an homage to the Montblanc 149. Their first attempt was made out of metal. This is a completely aluminium pen. It comes in a lot of different colors. It does have traditional black and colors like that, but it also has extremely bright, obvious colors like this orange, which I happen to believe would be perfect for your office in the tractor. This pen is almost indestructible. You can see it's got this massive clip. It also has, like the acrylic version, a massive size 8 nib. This thing is more like a weapon than a pen. You could throw it around. You could run over it in your tractor and it will still continue to write. It has, like most of these Chinese pens, a cartridge converter filling system, but it does hold quite a bit of ink. Not as much as the 9019 Dardau, but certainly enough. I think this pen in your office, in the cab of your tractor, would be perfect. You can throw it around. It's almost indestructible. And because it comes in colors like bright orange and yellow and things like that, it will be easy to spot. Matt, thank you very much for your video question. The pen that I am recommending to you is the Jinhao X159 in metal. Guys, this has been fun with fountain pens. I hope that you've been enjoying watching it. I'm going to play a few more tunes and come to the questions in the chat. Guys, I promise you this is true. You are watching Simon TV.